The following is a sponsored program paid for by First Alliance Credit Union. Welcome to Good Money Moves, featuring Jenna Taubel from First Alliance Credit Union and Andy Brownell. Here's Andy Brownell on Rochester's News Talk, 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
Good morning, everyone. It's time for Good Money Moves on News Talk 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM. I'm Andy Brownell, and I am joined again by Jenna Taubel and David Schouten from the First Alliance Credit Union.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
And as promised, we're going to dive back into identity theft and fraud. And I can't stress how important a topic this is. It's so we covered this last week. Every 2 seconds,
Yes.
some sort of identity theft or fraud is taking place.
Yes.
That's more than a little tiny bit scary. So we covered those statistics, $16 billion in costs, and how often it happens. What are we going to dig into this week?
Yeah, so we are going to obviously continue our conversation about identity theft, like you said, but I felt like we kind of glazed over some of the different types of identity theft and how those work, and I wanted to dig a little bit deeper into those because I think it's really important that people understand how these different types of strategies people use to steal your identity work, because once you know how they work, and you can better kind of prepare yourself to not fall victim to that. Kind of that knowledge is power. So
always.
So specifically, we're really going to dig into data breaches because that is such a huge topic. It's the one you see that pops up in the news constantly. Phishing, we kind of dug into that a little bit, and then pretexting, because those are really the most common types that you kind of end up.
They're in the news
using.
all the time.
They are.
All three
they really are.
And unfortunately, they worked all too well.
Right, which is why we're continuing to talk about them and give people the information they need to avoid.
And two of them we have some control over, a lot of control. The one the average person doesn't have a lot of control.
Right.
And that would be the data breach. But I suppose as we get into this discussion, we might learn some tricks that could even minimize our risk for that.
Absolutely.
So, knowledge, of course, power, as Jenna said. Why is identity theft such an important topic to the First Alliance Credit Union? Why are we doing these programs, Jenna?
Yeah, so the reason I wanted to spend so much time talking about this is because the reason people steal your identity is to get at your money, right? And what's the credit union there for? To help you manage your money and keep it safe. So really, one of the biggest concerns we have as a credit union is keeping our members' money and their personal information safe and secure. And one of the best ways that we can do that is through educating our members and the general public on how best to protect themselves. You know, oftentimes if you give out your personal information or, money willingly to that Nigerian prince that emails you, that money's gone and it really hurts your financial situation. And we want our members to be financially successful and always be making good money moves. And a big part of that is protecting your identity in as many ways as possible.
Yep. And so much is to do with technology, but these scams have been around forever. You mentioned the Nigerian prince.
Yeah.
I remember getting letters in the mail over that very same scam.
Yeah.
And then as soon as we had fax machines, one of the first things that crossed on the fax was the Nigerian prince scam.
Yeah, I've actually legitimately received one of those emails before. That's why I bring that up. I put it out on my Facebook page, and I was like, my prince has come, you guys.
How lucky am I?
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to go more in depth. I guess let's start with the one we have very little control over, data breaches. Those are the ones that are in the news all the time. The big corporations get hit. Somebody hacks in. What is it exactly, and how does this all work with these data breaches?
Sure. Data breaches are simply when someone gets unauthorized access to information held at some corporation or organization. It's usually a larger organization because the payload's better, right? And so that's why you see things like Target or Home Depot or like we said, Equifax, getting breached. And then they're stealing all the information. The important information, the gold, so to speak, that they're looking for are credit card numbers, social security numbers, passwords, banking information, and driver's licenses. Addresses are also very helpful, tied to specific names. Mm-hmm. All this stuff can be used to steal from you. and impersonate who you are. And so that's what they're trying to do.
That's the key to it.
Yeah.
Identity theft. They're
Yeah.
trying to go out there in the financial world and pretend that they are you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, and one other one that's important is medical records. People are trying to steal your medical records and to use that to either put claims against your insurance or to use that information to impersonate you again.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, back to what I said earlier. It doesn't seem like there's a heck of a lot I can do myself. Is there a way to minimize my risk from being exposed to something bad happening to me because of a data breach?
Well, you rely on these companies to protect your information when you give it to them. And so there isn't a lot you can do when they get breached. I would say one thing to do that can be done is to actually talk to your legislature about making sure all corporations have to follow common security practices that are best practice. Right now, part of the problem with some of these breaches is that they're not accountable to keep the information secure, because the people who are accountable are actually financial institutions, because that's where the money is. But the breaches aren't happening there. Financial institutions have lots of regulation and security controls and that are being observed and audited, but not so much when you get into that small business merchant. Do they have money to make sure that stuff's secure? And it's large corporations as well. So part of what makes a difference is making sure your legislature, your representative knows that it's important. Data security is important everywhere, not just at financial institutions.
It's ironic to me that when you addressed how big of a problem this is, $16 billion problem, that hasn't already happened. That
right.
Somebody would have put that in place to lock down this information, because it is so darn costly.
Yeah.
That's actually why in Europe you've heard of this thing called the GDPR. It's a General Data Protection Act or something like that. It's actually that's its intent. Its intent is to create common security principles and privacy principles across all industries, so everybody's accountable to the same rules. So in some ways that's a great move. Some people might not like how it's been implemented, or some of the actually fairly punitive penalties that they put in place. But the intent is right. Everybody's got to. It's always the weakest link. So let's make sure everybody's running the same rules that where it involves your money, and because otherwise it'll keep happening.
So
right? As
you said, it will keep happening the way it is now. Is there anything I can do personally that would minimize myself being harmed, or are there steps I can take? Yeah.
So mostly it's vigilance. Monitor your accounts that you have. Monitor. Make sure you're checking, using tools like the on-off with your cards. We call it My Cards at First Alliance, but there's other financials or card companies that have these turn off, turn on with your credit card or debit cards. Really important to have those tools. Watch your credit score. Information will come in there when things are breached, and that's an important piece to have. And always make sure that you are watching who you're dealing with. So if it's not such a strong-looking, organization or website, maybe don't do your business online with them. Yeah.
I always go to the Better Business Bureau.
Yeah.
And just maybe it won't be covered, but it's always a relief if they do have a listing there and they're accredited or something. I go, okay, I feel better.
Yeah.
At least in that case.
Yeah, I mean, just do your due diligence in the types of companies and the people that you choose to work with, and just make sure that they're reputable. And most good organizations are going to do everything they can to protect your information. They're going to take the fact that they hold your personal information very seriously. But there's always that one person within the organization who can still click that email. So even the most advanced technology to keep your information safe sometimes isn't enough you just have to be very careful personally and hope that everyone else around you is doing the same, and then just know what to look for if something does happen.
Red flags. You
Yeah.
mentioned your credit report. Your credit. I imagine what it is then. If somebody is using your identity to take out credit, they're obviously not paying the payments, so that you're going to have some bad reports coming in, and your credit score will plummet. And you've mentioned before inquiries, right? That's not what they're called, though. It's when somebody's checked.
Yep.
Is that what it is?
So like a hard versus a soft
A
inquiry.
poll. That's what. Yeah.
Yeah, poll inquiry. They're kind of interchangeable, but yes. Yep.
So a lot of that is happening that will also impact your score in relatively short order. That's a red flag.
Yes.
And the other red flags on data breaches?
Another red flag would be simple things like, did your statement stop coming? And you didn't turn that off. You didn't stop that.
I mean, somebody else did.
Right. So that's another one. Irregularity with your statements is another red flag to look at for sure.
And charge is the obvious one.
Right.
Somebody else started using your Target account.
I mean,
buying stuff.
And with data breaches, typically, especially with larger organizations, you at least hear about the breach in the news so that you can then go, okay, well, yes, I did use my credit card at Target during that time frame. Maybe I should really pay attention to my accounts, or you know what, it would make me feel really better to just close this card and get a new one issued to keep myself safe all around. And those are options as well, too. So just pay attention to the news and make sure that you're paying attention to when these breaches are happening.
It's all about making good money moves.
It is.
Financial literacy. That's what this is all about. We're going to talk more about how to protect yourself against some of the more common ways that identity thieves get at your data and your money. On Good Money Moves, we'll be back on Newstalk 1340, KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
Good Money Moves continues in moments with Andy Brownell and Jenna Taubel from First Alliance Credit Union. This is News Talk 1340, KROC AM and 96.9 FM. We're talking Good Money Moves with Andy Brownell and Jenna Taubel from First Alliance Credit Union on Rochester's News Talk 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
Welcome back to Good Money Moves. Andy Brownell, Jenna Taubel, and David Schouten from the First Alliance Credit Union. Of course, delving more into identity theft and identity fraud. We talked about, we did a quick overview of all this last week in one of the phishing, obviously. I think the term is funny, the name for it, first of all, but it's an app name if they spell it differently, because that's what they're doing. Essentially, they're throwing a line out there and randomly hoping somebody will take the bait.
That's right.
Exactly.
And the bait is you offering up some useful piece of information
About yourself. Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
So maybe delve more into that, David. What are we talking about, and how does this all work?
Sure. So first of all, we've probably heard of phishing for, it seems like, years. But unfortunately, it's still probably one of the most successful ways that people get information outside of a data breach. People still click on stuff. And today, they're getting more and more sophisticated. So phishing is predominantly emails that look like they're from someone that's legitimate, like UPS or FedEx or your Verizon bill, and they're asking you to click on something or to open an attachment. What happens is if you click on it, it's either going to take you to a website that's not real, and it's going to ask you to enter in your information, and now they got it. Or it's going to you're going to click on an attachment or a link that will install something on your computer, and that will be used to basically take over your computer, look for any information, or to install things like a keylogger, which is basically something that's recording all the keystrokes so that they can copy and find out what your password and your username is for any particular sites that you're on. That's basically it. And all they're doing is trying to make it look enticing or legitimate for you to click on. So number one is, first of all, if you're not expecting an email from someone and it shows up out of the blue, question it. Don't click on it. Maybe call the person up. Maybe send a separate email to that person and say, hey, did you send me this? Those are things that you can do to prevent these kinds of accidents happening and really losing your information.
And I know one of the other tricks is, because I always get it, the PayPal fish.
Yes.
Where, here, go here, and you click on it, supposedly take you to a website, and as you said, you fill out your login information, and then they can steal from you. But if you hover on the email, your mouse over the links, you'll see right away that it's not PayPal.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
it'll show some, it might even have PayPal in there, but it's not PayPal.com. It's something totally different than their website.
Right. Exactly. And that's where that hovering and checking to say, is it really what it's supposed to be, is important to do.
And that's one of the red flags, I suppose. Any other red flags we can look for in phishing?
You talked about the weird URLs or websites. Spelling errors are a good tip-off.
Mm-hmm.
And also just offers that are way too good to be true. I mean, if it's too good to be true, it probably is.
Mm-hmm.
And so someone's trying to get something, from you. So those are probably the biggest red flags when looking at email.
I've seen, too, the big names, corporate names, and to look at the logo, and you can see that it just really wasn't executed all that well.
You're right.
The edges are not crisp, or, there's little tiny things like that.
Yep.
Yeah. No, those are all really good indications to watch out for. Another thing to just be wary of, I mean, with pretty much any type of identity theft tactics, that sense of urgency. We talked about that before, but I can't stress it enough that that's really, they kind of play off of your fears and your anxieties, and they will use that to entice you to do the things that you wouldn't normally do if it wasn't that urgent situation.
So these folks are really skillful at pushing your buttons.
Yes, that's why it's called social engineering. Really,
We covered the online stuff.
Yeah.
And obviously, it may be a little bit trickier, but we're all getting bombarded with these phone calls, too. And in essence, that's what they are as well, right? Phishing phone calls, somebody saying,
Yep, text messages.
I'm from the utility
Facebook.
company, and we need your social security number in order to check on something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so this is funny, right? So if they're trying to fish for stuff over a voicemail or a phone, it's called vishing. If it's email, it's phishing. And if it's text messaging, it's smishing. Smishing. From SMS text,
Oh, sure,
I guess.
gotcha now.
So
Little slow on the
smish,
uptake.
Fish and vish.
Fish.
It's a Dr. Seuss book.
I know, right? It
Somebody
should
in
be.
a room somewhere.
Yeah, right?
Thinking of these titles for all these different scammers out there.
Oh, so I heard a new one. It's called juice jacking.
Juice jacking.
Juice jacking. What it is at the airports where you have those USB ports where you can plug in and charge your phones?
Sure.
Oh.
Now they're putting software on there to get onto your phone and get your information.
Oh my gosh.
And it's called juice jacking
Juice
because you're
jacking.
trying to get juice.
So I can't even charge my phone in the airport anymore.
You got to be careful.
How do you know that that's happening?
I just heard it on the news. Honestly.
If airports weren't bad enough already.
It pays to be paranoid.
It's like everything else.
Yeah.
If it looks a little weird, be careful.
It's like those card skimmers.
Yes.
If you see
If
the
it
gas
looks a little
pumps,
funny,
that one doesn't look like that one.
be careful.
Why?
And for those, the best way is just use a regular power outlet. A power outlet can never
With
get
your own charger.
Yeah, with your own charger. Then you're good.
You know
but
how hard those are to find in an airport?
oh, I know,
We do that on purpose.
I know. We all face that.
Okay, we have to take a quick break, but we're going to talk about another one of the more common identity theft schemes out there. That would be pretexting. It covers a whole gamut of things. So we'll be back with Good Money Moves, more on identity theft and identity fraud on News Talk 1340, KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
Good Money Moves continues in moments with Andy Brownell and Jenna Taubel from First Alliance Credit Union. This is News Talk 1340, KROC AM and 96.9 FM. We're talking Good Money Moves with Andy Brownell and Jenna Taubel from First Alliance Credit Union on Rochester's News Talk 1340, KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
Welcome back. I'm Andy Brownell with News Talk 1340, KROC AM and 96.9 FM. Jenna Taubel and David Schouten with the First Alliance Credit Union. And we have been focusing on identity theft and fraud and ways we can protect ourselves. We're going to get to pretexting in just a moment, but we kind of forgot to protect ourselves on our computers and our tablets. We can download software to help deal with that, right, David?
Yeah, exactly. So a lot of good antivirus software, and check on some reviews on reputable sites on some good ones to download. It's not just antivirus anymore. They do lots of things like prevent if you go to a website that has malicious code on it. They'll prevent those, or they'll give you a warning. So they start talking more in terms of what's called endpoint security, the endpoint being the computer, and how do you secure it in totality. Prevent malware, prevent viruses, that's traditional one, but also things like anti-ransomware. So a new technique is to install software, again, using phishing. Click on this link, install this software, and all of a sudden you've got ransomware encrypting your hard drive. That's what it does. So ransomware, what it does is it encrypts your hard drive, and then they call you or contact you to unlock it for a fee.
For a fee.
And most times they don't do what they say. But these tools help you prevent it. You could look at there's several out there that do things around helping with ransomware and preventing you from by accidentally clicking on a website that's not good. So
I've had that happen before where I've gone to a very legitimate website, news website, and somebody must have got into their system, or there was an advertisement that had been placed on their website,
Yes.
and bing, this alert comes up and says,
whoa.
danger, danger.
Yeah.
It happens, and it does happen, like you said. It's not only just weird, odd websites. It can be legitimate websites that just get compromised themselves. It's a never-ending battle between those things. So, having good security on your computer, on your phone, on your, iPad is important. Take a look at that and see what options you have out there.
Keep it up to date.
And keep it up to date, for sure.
Pretexting.
Yes,
what are we talking
pretexting,
about?
yes. So again, pretexting is really, I would call it almost classic social engineering, where people are trying to pretend they're someone they're not in order to gain your trust. And once they gain your trust, they try to get information out of you that they can use to basically commit fraud in your name or to steal money from you. Again, they're trying to steal.
What are some of the key things what kind of key information are they usually trying to elicit from you?
So they want your social security number. They want your personal information like mother's maiden name. That's always the extra secret question everybody has. They're trying to find out, where you were born, place of your birth. They want, obviously, account numbers and your address, name, how old, all these things that can be used to identify someone that they can use to impersonate you.
Yeah. When you go down that list you just mentioned, every one of those is, when you think about it, obvious.
Right.
Because those are the things that these that secure your accounts.
Right.
Those extra steps that you take so somebody doesn't just randomly able to access it.
Exactly.
Right.
So
Exactly.
always remember there should be a context for which someone is calling you, and they have the information if they're legitimate. They don't need to ask you for it. So always challenge for that and make sure you've got a real there should be a reason for it.
Yeah.
I mean, you may get a call for a fraud on your card, but they should be able to tell you something of information for you to validate that they saw something that's real, right? And so be careful with that. And again, they're not going to ask you for key information like that. They have it already,
Right.
And so why? And so that's probably the number one thing. Again, they're going to try to rush you, make you feel pressured to do something. Those are common techniques to try to get you to divulge information.
So I'm going to summarize. Never click. And never do this on the phone.
Right.
Ever.
Exactly.
And if they get offended that you're not doing it, obviously something's wrong there.
Yeah. Yep. If they start to get agitated because you're not answering their questions quickly or directly, that's a very clear sign that something is not right and you should hang up immedately. Just remember, you don't have to give your information to anybody ever.
It's
you
your
don't
information.
Have to. Set that boundary.
Well, and also don't feel like you are being rude either.
Exactly.
Just hang up.
Yep.
Right.
And then call back the institution that was supposedly contacting you. If somebody is pretending to be First Alliance Credit Union calling you, and then you hang up and you call us back, we're going to be like, no, we did not call you asking you for that
Thank you for
information.
hanging up on
Thank you
us.
for letting us know this is happening. So now we can protect our members.
There you go. So if I go to I'm going to guess, I can go to the website and find out a ton of great stuff about what we've been talking about, all these different ways I can be scammed.
always. So firstalliancecu.com is our website. I would strongly encourage you to subscribe to our blog so that you can get all of our most recent tips and advice on not only identity theft protection, but all sorts of other financial topics to help you make good money moves. We also have our resource page, which has information about what to do if you do become a victim of identity theft. It's a booklet you can download for free and use. We also have tools like we've talked about, the My Cards feature and the credit score feature within our mobile banking app and our online banking. And then, of course, we have our Legal Shield identity theft protection plan discounts for our members as well, which can also be found on our resource page.
Well, fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, David.
Well, thank you. It was a pleasure.
Well, wonderful information. I hope everybody was paying attention.
Yeah. If not, go back and listen again.
And you can do that very easily. Just go to KROCnews.com, our website, or our News Talk 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM app. And on the trending bar, it says local podcasts, and you can find all of the episodes that we have done. And it's a wealth of information. All right. Yes. Jenna Taubel, David Schouten from the First Alliance Credit Union. Until next time, Jenna, I'm Andy Brownell on News Talk 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM.